Hello, dear ones. It is so good to be with you today. And I want to share a story with you that happened a couple of weeks ago in one of those wonderful Unity Zoom gatherings. And we were all in our little squares, and one of the participants said, "It is so good to see you all today. How much I miss gathering with you in church." And then she went on to tell us that she generally, like most of us, sit in the same general area every Sunday that she comes to church. And she said, a person I really miss a lot was a woman who always sat in the same pew I did. And we would always greet one another. We would always smile and nod. And she became an anchor for me. I knew I could count on seeing her because she was in church almost every Sunday like I was. And I so miss seeing her. I did not, I regret to tell you, learn her name. But when we regather in church, one of my first tasks is going to greet her and tell her how much I missed her and to introduce myself to her and learn her name, which I will never forget because I've missed her so much. And it got me so curious about these casual social contacts and their importance, which we are learning so much about in the pandemic. So I've been doing a lot of reading about these social contacts, what we know are called weak ties. In 1973, a Stanford professor, Dr. Mark Granovetter, wrote an article on the importance of weak ties in the social fabric of our society and how much we tend to take those weak ties for granted, focusing more on the strong ties of family and close friends. But it's actually those weak ties of people that you see in church on a regular basis, that you nod to, that become the anchors. And what the studies during the pandemic are showing is it's those weak ties that actually increase our sense of belonging, increase happiness, and create that foundation and anchor in our lives. Studies they've been interviewing people in church choirs and how much moods would change from the beginning of choir rehearsal to the end. And it's those kinds of things that it's going to be so important that we remember when the pandemic is over. Now, in closing, what I want to share with you is our experience at our beloved Minnehaha Dog Park. We generally go about the same time most mornings. We generally run into the same dogs and dog walkers. We have gotten to know each other enough where we say good morning, we greet one another. Some of us even know one another's names, but we count on each other. And we have a couple of friends, Kelly and Paula. When we don't see each other for a few days, we worry about each other. Are you okay? Did you fall? Have you been coming? No, we've just been coming at a different time, so we haven't seen you. And I began to recognize people's cars because one of our dogs gets anxious, so I like to know which dogs we can anticipate running into. But this community of people has been much more intentional during the pandemic in greeting one another and getting to know one another, because I think intuitively they understand the importance of these weak ties and how much satisfaction comes into our lives from simply greeting strangers and saying hello and telling them that their presence matters, whether it's just in a dog park. So the other day, we ran into one of our casual contacts at the dog park who'd spent the month of January in Costa Rica. And she had told us she was going. And on the last day that I thought she was going to be in the dog park, I quickly wrote a note and put it in the door handle of her car. And we hadn't seen her since she'd gotten back until a couple of days ago. And she said, "Your note meant so much to me. I felt so seen." And I said, "Well, we wanted to live vicariously through your trip to Costa Rica. We wanted you to have such a good time because we had such a wonderful time ourselves when we visited Costa Rica." And she said, "Well, you know what? When I travel, I always take one thing from home. And what I took was your note, because it anchored me. So let us never take for granted these weak ties, and know that studies have shown that 84% of jobs that we get actually come from those weak ties and not the strong ties. So it's a huge link to employment, interestingly enough. But more importantly, it's about that web of human community and where we belong in it. So I cannot wait until unity gathers again and you can acknowledge those weak ties, seeking to make them ever stronger. Thank you.